Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Lazarus. So before we continue, I would like to ask you a question, and that's about the daily format of these videos. Do you think it could be improved? Do you think it could be changed? Maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it, maybe you want to see something else entirely, and I feel like all of those things are very much applicable, and this is more like an ask for help. Some feedback from, of course, people who are watching these videos. I think there comes a certain point in time where you just kind of have to look back and say, well, I've made about 300 episodes in this very same format, and I've never asked a single time if people actually enjoy it. Obviously, to some extent, I do imagine some people enjoy it because there's quite a lot of you, quite a lot, relatively speaking, of course, who are actually watching these videos daily. And I'm really appreciative of that, and I hope that you actually enjoy them and find some value in them, because they tend to be as much entertaining as they are informative. And of course, I always try to make these videos in mind with just trying to give you as much information possible in the least amount of time, just kind of trying to discuss the daily without it being too long or overbearing. But you know, some people enjoy a long video. Some people would maybe enjoy seeing me going through the whole run, doing a live commentary, and just really kind of dictating and commenting every single decisions that I make. And that's something that I'm very willing to do and very open to doing. I just don't know if there's any interest to it. And of course, if there is, I'm very much willing to try it. So I guess at this point, what I'm saying is, if there's an idea you have, a suggestion, a criticism, or even anything in between, don't be afraid to drop a comment down below and just let me know, because I really want to take your perspective on this. I know there's a few of you who maybe watch these videos, don't really like commenting, and that's entirely fair, but I'm just saying, don't be afraid to do so. An idea is just an idea, right? There's nothing wrong that can go, like, don't feel like it's legally binding or anything like that. Don't be afraid, because what I'm trying to do here is instill a sense of community. This channel is as much my channel as it is your channel. When I say your, of course, I mean people who are watching it. And I feel like there's some obligation on my part to just say, hey, maybe people do enjoy this. And don't see this as me being a sellout, like pandering to the audience. I know that's maybe something that gets thrown out a lot, like pandering to the audience. And that's something that people like to see as a negative. And to some extent, it does depend on how you do it, right? If you're just like, oh, I'm going to do this just to get more views, for example, I think that's the wrong approach. I don't really want to do that. I'm saying, like, if there's people who are actually very vocal about how they feel, and if you like put your suggestion in, and there's enough people who actually support that, I'm gonna try to experiment with that, because I feel like that's gonna be something that's gonna improve not only our relationship with each other, but also our relationship with the videos, because I'm gonna be enjoying making them, because I know people will actually enjoy watching them, and they're gonna enjoy watch something which you suggested and it was your idea in the first place. So I feel like it's a win-win for really everyone who's contributing, but also everyone who's watching at the same time. So for all those reasons, I'm just extending the question onto you and just saying, hey, do you maybe have some suggestions, have some ideas? Maybe they want to see like a full stream run. And I think that's also something that could be very interesting. Like, I could do a very live run on Twitch, for example, or maybe just stream it through YouTube, commentate as I go, upload that as a VOD, of course, but then still make my condensed version at the end and just maybe focus on some of the things I've made or the decisions I've made throughout the run, and then actually see whatever they were good decisions, bad decisions. And of course, if you kind of see both, I think that could be interesting. But also, of course, it's just an interesting perspective, because they're a different way of looking at the same thing. In one sense, I'm making decisions on the spot while I'm actually playing the game, and the other one, I'm making decisions in hindsight and seeing if those decisions I've made on the spot were actually a good idea in the first place. So just take this, like, don't take this as something negative, of course. I just want to take this as an opportunity after like 300 episodes to extend the invitation to kind of help shape the channel in some way. And to some extent, of course, you can see me doing some of different views and videos, and I feel like to some extent, of course, that's something I want to do, because I enjoy being creative as much as I enjoy being like commentative, if that makes sense. But these videos represent like something special to me. They're a daily diary of me, where I just really play a game of mine which I really like, and where I decide to talk about it and just kind of focus on the minute details that maybe a lot of people wouldn't focus about. But it also gives me opportunity to have a discussion like this one, where we just talk about things which I feel like are concerning not to just me, but also to everyone who's watching. And if everyone kind of tuned in and is disappointed because I didn't talk about the run as much, this is your chance. Like, I'm gonna start talking about the run right now. So if you look at the run as it is right now, it actually just kind of started to pick up. And I made a very crass decision at a certain point, which kind of ended up punishing me. And it's one of those things where, again, I overestimated just how strong I was, but also I underestimated how long boss rush takes. And again, this is just something that kind of keeps coming up. It's a mistake that I keep making, and I feel like it's something that I really need to get a better grip on. And what ended up happening is I had a teleport card, so my impression was I can go to do boss rush, I can teleport out, of course I can go to the treasure room, explore the entire rest of the mount floor, and then I can hopefully make it to Hush. And you can see that my stats weren't all too good, like 7 damage with 7 tier delay is nothing to write home about, but we had little monstro, and I really thought that with combination of these two items and just our stats, we're gonna be able to deal enough damage to really dispose of enemies and bosses a lot quicker than we actually did. And I think the biggest part here is I didn't count how many waves there were and how many waves there are, and that kind of ended up biting me in the butt. So what ended up happening, of course, I was doing boss rush, I went in at something like 18th minute, I really made up, like I rushed it to boss rush, which is kind of incidental because the rush, whatever, doesn't matter. I just found it ironic for some reason because I rushed to boss rush. Maybe it's not as funny as I'm making it out to be, but yeah, alright. So I rushed to boss rush, I tried to get there as soon as possible, and I was there much earlier than I usually am. Like, I definitely didn't arrive in the nick of time, but I had some minutes to spare, and I actually beat the first 2 waves, and that's where the 20th minute hit. And I felt like because of that, I was gonna be in a safe position to do boss rush, teleport out, or maybe if I was running low on time, I could just enter the next floor and try to get to Hush as fast as possible. And that sounded like a good idea, but it didn't really work out, because what ended up happening is I had the teleport card, so I always had the option to just say, oh, this isn't working out. Like, if I was at the 25th minute, I could have definitely said, oh, I can't do boss rushing time, I need to teleport out, and I'm gonna go to Hush or try to make it to Hush, because obviously Hush is more important than boss rush. So we had a plan B, we had a second chance, which is just something I said doesn't really happen a lot, but this run definitely offered that to us. So why didn't I take it? Why didn't I decide to teleport out as soon as I saw that I'm not really gonna make it through boss rushing time? And the main reason for that was I always felt like I was at the last wave. I was at 24th minute, I was like, oh, this has to be the last wave. I beat the wave, another wave comes. Oh, this has to be the last wave. I beat that wave, another wave comes, and we're like at the 25th minute now. And I'm like, I've committed so much time to this, I'm not really willing to teleport out. Like, if there's only 1 wave remaining, I don't want to miss out on the 4,000 points because there's still a chance to make it to Hush. Then I beat that wave. But surprise, there's another wave waiting for us. So I kind of do that song and dance until like the 26th minute, even a little bit more than that. And I just ended up realizing I'm not gonna make it to Hush. Like, there's no way for me to get through the entirety of the womb floors as strong as I was, or as weak as I was, depending on how you look at it, and still make it to Hush and actually beat them. So I realized that even though I had a plan B, I had a second choice. Because I didn't count at which wave I was, which is something that would have definitely helped, I ended up making a very crass decision and a very big mistake in the end. And it's something that kind of keeps coming up. Like, it's very hard to gauge just how strong you are in regards to boss rush, and just when you can make it to Hush. Like, are you strong enough to beat boss rush fast enough to make it to Hush? And it all depends on the items that you have, and sometimes you can be very weak, but you can just have like a very good boss killing item, if that makes any sense. And that would, of course, allow you to really kind of capitalize on that opportunity. But in this one, what I even did is I kind of experimented a little bit. I just decided I'm not going to really care for my health as much. What I'm going to do is use Little Monstro to the greatest of its potential. I just kind of basically ran into enemies. Like, I was definitely a little more careless than I usually am, in hopes that I would actually output more DPS out just to do boss rush faster. But as it turned out, even though I did make that decision, even though I was much more aggressive as I usually would be, it just wasn't really enough to kind of put it in top, and I just wasn't able to make it out of there fast enough. So it was a mistake on my part, but I also feel like a good learning opportunity. I definitely don't think it's a good idea to be more aggressive for the sake of getting hit if you're trying to go fast, unless you know for sure how much more time you actually have in front of you. Like, if I knew that I'm not gonna make it, like, there's no reason to kind of sacrifice all of the damage penalty away. But if I was like on the mount floor and I knew I had like 3 more rooms and like 50 more seconds, then in that position maybe that being aggressive would be a good idea. But in the position I was, it definitely was a mistake. So I think this is like, there's the highlight of this run, and this is definitely this lamp fight. And the way I beat him is kind of surprising, but also very inspiring, because you can see I have 1 spirit heart as he was like on 3/4 of the health. So how do I beat him? Well, it was, I think, mostly luck, a bit of skill, but mostly just very damaging bombs. The bombs in this case, you can see, are doing like 1/10 of the damage every time I drop one, and I was really kind of hoping that I would be able to make it, because I thought it would look epic. And luckily in the end, it did turn out to be the right decision. And of course, the what's the item called? Lost Vessel came in the clutch at the end, just giving us the shield to really help us kind of seal our victory in. And you can see I missed the spirit heart. I tried to go back for it, but I didn't want to risk it. Like, you never know when a random mom's foot is gonna come down and kill you when you're that low. So I just decided to pick up the trophy and end the run there. Of course, as to be expected, I didn't make it to harsh, and as a result, I didn't make it to the void floor, and I just couldn't get as many points to really rank really well. But I still did beat boss rush. I did get to the lamp. In the end, I did rank like in the top 100, which is like the top 6%. I think my overall percentage is top 4.3%, something like that. So it's not really going down as much, even if I do have these bad dailies, just because I've had so many good performances. And I think it's a good idea to kind of keep that in mind, but also I can't let myself get too comfortable. Like, I definitely like to experiment sometimes, to my own detriment most of the time, but I feel like it does kind of provide us with knowledge, and of course we can then use that knowledge in future runs to hopefully have a little bit of a better experience, but also have a little bit of a better score. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.